Are you a professional pillow fighter? Or a 9-to-5 low-cost time travel agent? Or maybe real estate sales on Mars is your profession? It doesn't matter. Whatever it is you do, however complex or intricate, Monday.com can help you organize, orchestrate, and make it more efficient. Monday.com is the one centralized platform for everything work-related. And with Monday.com, work is just easier. Monday.com, for whatever you run. Go to Monday.com to learn more.
Well, I don't see the point in waiting any longer. So let's bring her out. The star attraction, the one you came to see. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Miss Judy Gold.
You end up going to Barnard because you're a fucking genius, and you graduate, and do you go to L.A.?
I do because
Right away.
Well, I had my first boyfriend in college, and I married him.
Yes,
actually.
Roger.
And he got into graduate school in LA, and I think that was partly because of me, because I said I worked all through college.
Right.
You know, I also did movies and not a lot of theater, but
you
some.
graduated in 4 years.
But I graduated in 4 years. Phi Beta Kappa. Magna cum laude. Not that it matters at all.
It does because, you know, my mother would, anytime someone was an idiot, she, you know, I'd be like, oh, what was that person like? Magna cum laude. Like that meant they were a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So, I love your mother. So I did move out there because he was going to graduate school in Los Angeles, and pretty quickly I got a job. And that job was where I met. Well, at the audition is where I met.
Did you meet me at the audition?
Yes, absolutely. I can't believe you don't remember. I'm very hurt.
No,
we actually auditioned for the same part. And Kathy Griffin auditioned for the other part.
Yes.
And then they switched either you or me, one of us.
I remember this, yes.
I think you read for Ruthie, and then they liked you.
Right. For the one that...
Because it was down to at the test, I believe it was you, me, Kathy Griffin.
And someone else. And I remember this. So we Maddie and I went in for All American Girl, starring Margaret Cho, the first Asian American family on network.
I knew who you were. You didn't know who I was, but I had seen you perform. You had done comedy near Columbia, near Barnard. At that, do you remember that place? You had your spit curl.
Ugh.
I can't remember the name, but it was a club-ish. Near
Laura's laughing at my fucking spit curl. Shut up.
It's
so ridiculous. People still come up to me and go, well, hey, Judy, show. All right. Yeah. So
I remember the spit curl. So I knew
I remember
hilarious.
that. Remember, it was sort of like a dark room that you went in.
It was awful. We had to sign contracts even though we didn't have the part. It was
and
very
it was
scary.
it was right on that big street, you know, whatever. So I remember that, and had
you flown out from New York? Did they fly you out?
I had an apartment in Los Feliz with two roommates, Sue, who I'm really good friends with.
I know Sue.
And Shelly, who we found out she never left. And
she never left the apartment?
No. She worked from home. We found out she was a phone sex operator. And she watched TV all the time, so we called her Shellavision. All right, anyway. But so nice, both of them, just lovely. Anyway, so I just was with Sue last week. I stayed at her house because I was writing and doing. Anyway, so I remember that Kathy Griffin, you and me, and Ruthie was. There was Ruthie and Gloria, and they were both her really good friends. And Ruthie was in every episode, and Gloria was in 7 out of 12.
So you really...
So when they moved me from every episode to 7, I was thrilled.
But you did end up being in every episode.
I did I think most of them, yeah. And I remember getting it. And thinking, oh my God, I can't fucking believe this.
It was really exciting.
And
did you know Margaret?
I knew Margaret, and I have to say, in my career, Margaret and Rosie, like Sandra Bernhardt puts me on her show all the time. The women have been so incredible to me, women comics, and
Rosie's been very good to me.
Yeah, she's there when you need her. I'm just doing that,
and I've only known her a couple years.
Yeah,
I've known her post latest trauma.
Right. So we end up on this sitcom, and I'm 32 32, maybe?
I don't think you were even that.
31.
Honestly.
I'm 8 years older than you.
Oh, maybe you were then.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is when I just was like, oh, and I knew your mother died and I just wanted to take care of you.
Oh,
I
that's
was
so nice.
like, I don't want her to have any sadness.
We had fun.
We had
and I
so
also,
much.
even though I had this bad thing happen and I'd been working, I was still such a kind of gullible and clueless and
Right.
guileless, having graduated from Barnard, worked on all these
Yeah.
movies, been in an Andrew Dice Clay movie. But I
Right.
still
Yeah,
was
Fort
like,
Fairlane.
I was
Yeah.
like, do you have a boyfriend? And BD, do you have a girlfriend? Like, I
Oh
was
my
so
God, BD Wong.
dumb.
You were sort of in your own little world,
Yeah,
but it was
that's
so
true.
funny. You were married to Roger and there was a fucking
And I was a baby. I mean,
Right.
Roger and I got married I got married 2 weeks after I graduated college.
That's normal.
And people
anyway,
were like, are you an Orthodox Jew?
right.
I'm not. It was a very, very, and my very first, I'm just telling you, as you knew then, my very first real boyfriend.
Right.
Like, it was all kinds of
But he was cute.
He was cute.
All right. He went to Hotchkiss. Anyway, didn't he?
He went to Columbia.
No, I thought he went to Hotchkiss. Oh no, that's someone else I'm thinking of for like high school. All right. Anyway, so we hung out together all the time.
Yeah.
And I would still do spots, and everyone used to yell at me.
And I'd come and watch your spots.
And everyone was like, why are you doing spots? You're on a sitcom. And I was like, because I have to. Margaret Smith used to call me the leopard because all I wanted to do was spots. But I thought once I got a sitcom, I wouldn't want to do spots, but I just fucking
know.
And we would
Also,
have dinner
we
at
would have
Margaret's.
like 3 lines per episode.
Right.
So I
we would get the
understood-
scripts and be like, oh my God, this is so great that I'm going to say, hey, I'm tall, and then walk out of the room.
And I'm going to go, you are tall. Bye, Margaret. Have fun with Grandma.
Yeah, have fun with Grandma because she's going to get all the lines now. It was like, but we had so much fun. And they had a
We
rice,
really did.
remember the rice cooker? Oh, they had rice cooker on set, and I fucking loved it. And, all right. But then you used to love this place called Toy.
Yes. Well,
TOI.
let's put it this way. I also had an eating disorder.
Right.
And I was slightly out of my mind. I never really grieved my mother.
Yes.
So I was like, something's got to be in control.
Right.
And so I had stopped being completely anorexic, which I had been in college, and started just working out a lot.
Right.
So I actually was hungry, but I was
Right.
also batshit crazy about that. Like
Right.
I really had a problem.
Every time we had food, it was like, okay, and Maddie wants, and it would be 45 minutes later.
But Toy, I liked control in my life.
Right.
And as many people with eating disorders can attest, it's not a really fun addiction.
Right.
It's like everything was felt out of control to me.
Right.
Now, was I aware that I wanted, this is me now at
Right.
almost 50 saying
Right.
this. So Toy was a place where I knew what the menu was.
Right.
I knew I could eat. For some reason, I had weird wacko rules that like I couldn't eat this, but I could eat that. And it
Right.
wasn't even about calories. It was just
I'm controlling this,
was
but I
crazy.
love their vegetarian pad
delicious,
thai.
and it
That
was also
fucking-
kind of a
Is
cool
it still
place.
open?
I don't know. I haven't been there. in a
I
long
remember
time.
your apartment. I remember it vividly.
When I got divorced from
Yeah.
my first husband, one of the things he said is, "Well, I'll never have to run into you if I don't want to because I know that you only go to one restaurant." I was like, "Oh, that's
shut
so
the fuck
mean."
up, Roger.
But he was right.
Yeah. Okay, I know. Oh, Toy on Sunset. It's still there.
Oh, they
By
had
the
that
way,
black
when
rice and pumpkin.
Oh, it's so good.
I also would do. Judy, you want to know something secret? I would eat with you guys, and then I would order something to go. And I would eat it again because I was so hungry because I would like
never eat.
never eat, but then I'd eat all night. So
Right.
it's fun.
We had so much fun.
We really did.
And every
And
time,
BD and
BD,
Margaret.
BD would we'd order a shitload of food, and then we'd
BD
be
could
leaving.
eat.
Yeah, BD could eat, and then he'd be like, are you guys finishing that? And he would take it home, and I'd go, I gotta go. I gotta do a spot.
And I'd go to your spot.
Oh, all right. So.
And also, you had a relationship. BD had a relationship, but your partners were back in New York.
And we were I was a lesbo.
You were?
Uh-huh. And BD was a gay.
My favorite was how I found out that you were gay.
Okay,
know if
go.
you want
And then
me
we're
to
going
tell
to
the story.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So So Judy and I did, what they do with the TV series is you'd shoot a pilot and then you'd wait to see if it got picked up. And we really did have a great time on the pilot. And we really did. I loved you too. I mean,
Thank
we
you.
really were like sisters, and we got each other's humor, and I thought you were brilliant and hilarious, and we just loved each other. And I
Right.
really wanted the show to go because I
Right.
wanted to make money and be on TV, but
Right.
also I really wanted to hang out with Judy. Honest to God, we loved each other, and we had made plans, and we knew we wanted our families to
Right.
meet. We just, we had a lot in common. So, when we got the call, it was a big, big deal that we got the call that the show was picked up. And I remember calling you, and you were like, yes! And it was a big deal because they were flying us in, well, me in, because you lived in New York, but I lived in LA, and they were flying me in for the upfronts, for the announcements. But they were like I was still like the 14th banana on the show.
Right,
so
right,
they were
right.
like,
I was
but
the
we're not going to
15th.
give you a hotel room. So you were like, you'll come in and you'll stay with me. And I had heard all about your roommate. And can I say her name?
Yeah.
So I had heard all through the week, that we were working together. I'd heard about Sharon,
Right.
Judy's best friend, her roommate. And she was like, yeah, and Sharon, my roommate. Da, da, da. So we're going back and forth. We're doing the show. We're picked up for 13. It's going to be great. You're coming in. I'm coming in. You'll stay with me. I'll stay with you. Sharon's not my roommate. She's my girlfriend. Okay. And that was how I was like, oh, all right.
So
That
then
was it.
we would be on set, and Jody Long, right, who played Margaret's mother. This was the funniest.
But was not that much older than us. But,
Right. They'd put gray, they spray her hair with gray. And neither was the grandmother.
She was like a year older
Amy
than
Hill
Jody.
was like, it was hilarious.
I
Anyway,
love
and
Amy.
Clyde. All right. Anyway, so every time, Maddie and I used to get our makeup done makeup and hair done usually at the same time. And we'd all be in the makeup and hair room, and we'd be talking, and I'd be like, "Oh, well, Sharon's blah blah coming, for blank," and Jody would be like, "Who's Sharon?" And we would all be like, "Oh," and she's a friend of Judy's. And then like later on, we'd mention, and she'd be like, "Wait, who's Sharon again?" And so we ended up calling Sharon Who's.
For years,
that was it.
I did not
Years.
say the word Sharon for 10 years.
Who's.
She was just Who's.
It was just Who's.
I'd say, how's Who's?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Who's? Yeah.
So, cut to you divorce Roger.
Yeah, pretty soon. It was a
yeah.
very brief
Yeah.
baby marriage, starter marriage.
And we move on. We stay in touch. And I have
Yeah.
to say, I looked at my phone when you were talking about your mother, because my mother died on June 17th. And I remember you paid me a Shiva call. Like, I meant so much to me. And now I realize it was right at the time that you were sitting Shiva for your mother. Okay, so that was just my little. And so you work a lot. You do. You get a lot of stuff. You're an amazing actor. By the way, you're in the upcoming Mr. Rogers'
Yes.
Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and you play the Jewish. What's her name?
Lady Aberlin.
Lady Aberlin, Jewish. You're perfect for that part.
That was
I know.
really exciting.
Did you fuck Tom
moment.
Hanks?
I did. No, I did not.
So, so you get remarried
I did.
to Jace Alexander, who
Yes.
is Jane Alexander's son.
Yes.
Jane Alexander, who is the head of the NEA.
Under Clinton, yeah. Sure.
Yes, and just an amazing actress.
Yeah.
Not Jewish. Half?
Not Jewish, but
No.
married to Jewish guys.
Right. Is Jace's father Jewish?
Yes.
Oh, so your kids are basically 3/4. All right. I have to. It's all about DNA with me.
Well, look, if they come, they're taking
Yeah.
I'm the mom, so
Right.
they're in trouble.
I go back to New York because I have Henry and with Who's, and you're in LA, and how did you meet Jace?
I met Jace. We had met a couple times through the years. We had a lot of friends in common. He's a little bit older than I am, and he was
Right.
part of this very cool theater company called
Right.
Naked Angels.
Oh
And they were,
yes,
like,
yes,
the coolest. So our paths had crossed, a few times, but I was married, or
Right.
had a boyfriend and then was married, and then he.
Who was the boyfriend after Roger?
Oh, I really barely had.
Yeah.
I dated a little bit. I really haven't.
I know you're so career. Go ahead.
Not just that. I've had, very, very. I'm like the nice Jewish girl from Westchester who's been involved in 2 sex scandals,
Right,
but
right.
I really have barely had sex with anyone,
Right. And also, I have to say, Maddie glossed over, but our families, Like your brother slept in my apartment and took care of my yeah. And
sometimes
I love
you just have friends that are family, and we could go. You know, Judy, we would like not see each other or talk for a year or something, and we'd pass each other on the street and just fall down laughing and hug each other. And I'd always go see your shows,
And I love your father, and I love Pat. By the way,
my dad remarried a great woman,
the greatest Pat. Just a fucking
solid citizen. Yeah. Great. And so Jason and I met, I think, then we kind of re-met when we were both single-ish.
Right.
I was single, he was single-ish. In New York, I was doing a movie, but still living in LA.
Right.
And then he was in LA a couple weeks later, and I maybe kind of stalked him a little bit because I had a crush on him. And once we started dating, it was very romantic and very serious very quickly.
Right.
He had been dating like 5 women and he stopped. Like we were very, very much in love very quickly.
Right.
And it felt kind of like what we were saying about each other. Like sometimes you just meet someone and you just feel like you're meant to be with them. And I felt, even on the other hand, he lived in New York and I lived in LA. So it felt safe to me as someone coming semi recently out of a divorce. I was like, this will be a great boyfriend.
Right.
But we dated very seriously for 6 months. And then he was like, one of us needs to move. And I said, well, I love New York. I mean, my family's in New York. I always knew I'd come back to New York eventually.
Right.
But I had really cold feet about moving in with someone.
Of course.
And so I said, I'll get my own place. And he said, look, why don't you keep your place in LA? Because we both will be working back and forth and you'll move in with me. And if it doesn't work out,
you still have your place in LA.
Or you can get your own place in New York.
Right.
You know, but it just doesn't make sense. So I did. And I kept my place in LA. I kept one foot out the door for a while. I really was gun shy. But then.
Now, when your your Pat and your father and Noah met Jace, were they like, oh my God, he's the greatest?
I mean, he's the greatest. Yeah. He's serious. He wanted to get married way before I did. He wanted to be a family man. He wanted to have kids. Everything he asked. He said, will you marry me? I said, yes, but I'm not ready yet. He said, okay, well, I wouldn't have asked you if I wasn't ready tomorrow. So you tell me when you're ready.
Right.
Then we got married and he said, I'm ready to have kids. And I said, I'm not ready yet. And he said, okay, well, I wouldn't have married you if I wasn't ready. So you let me know.
Right.
Which is a perfect way to deal with me. Because as soon as I think someone
because then you have control. He gives you the control. Yeah.
So we got married. It was a pretty whirlwind situation. We got married. I got pregnant.
New York Times.
It was, we were in the vows section of the New York Times.
By the way, I wasn't invited, everyone. Go ahead.
Know, sorry.
It's all right. How many people? 600?
No. About 150.
Oh, that's not bad.
No. And my parents had took them 8 years to get pregnant. My mother really struggled with infertility, which I had heard about my whole childhood. It was like a very big part of our story was I was this miracle baby. They had started adoption procedures. They were going to adopt a kid, and then she accidentally got pregnant after many years of trying all different fertility treatments. So I really thought it would take me a while, but I was like the after school special, like the first unprotected sex I had was right after we got married, a couple weeks after we got married. I was like, well, I guess we can not try to not have a baby. You know, it was just kind of like, it might take a year or two.
Right.
And I got pregnant that night. So we had our first baby, my daughter Issa, within a year of being married, before our first anniversary, we had a baby. And that was great. It was a happy accident because I am neurotic and a planner, and I probably wouldn't have known what the right time was. And so we didn't have a lot of time without kids, very much became a part of our relationship. And then not that soon after, but I was a very hands-on, like I did stop working for a while.
Of course.
He was making money, and also he was not an actor, he was a director, so he knew his work coming up, and I was never that famous that I had jobs that I knew about a year in advance. So it was like, okay, you're working, so one of us should be here. And I was, lucky enough that he had enough money, we had enough money. Look, I still say he had enough money that we could have one of us home. And then we moved to the suburbs, and which I didn't love, but it felt like the right thing to do.
Dobbs Ferry.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had, I said, maybe we'll just have this one baby. You know, she's pretty awesome, and I don't know if I could ever love anybody as much. Anyway, you know how you feel with your...
Oh, please.
And then... And I really was very.
And then you have another one. You go like, "Oh yeah, I love this one."
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. All right.
Well, I was like, I don't know. And then,
I know. It's.
And then it was about 3 years in where I was like, oh, my whole being wants to have another. Like,
right.
I was content to have, and then all my reasons were maudlin. I was like, what if something happens to me? I don't want her to be alone. What if something happens to, to her? Just all terrible thinking. And I was like, that's not a good reason.
That's so Jewish.
I'm very Jewish and not in the,
I'm going to light candles and I'm going to get some challah and I'm going to the mikveh. All right, go ahead.
So, just in the way of, I think, terrible things are going to happen all the time, except for the terrible thing that actually happened to me. I did not anticipate. So anyway, I say, okay, I'm going to have one more baby. And then God laughed and gave me twins.
Right. Who are so cute. I mean, your kids are so adorable.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
So then my big plan of like, I'm really going to go back to work now. I always worked, but I never really committed in earnest because every time I'd have another baby.
You know, there's something about, like, I have never talked about this with another performer who had kids at a very lucrative and, you know, like I was working a lot and then Henry was born. It was like, do you want to live in LA? You know, because whose was like, Judy, you got to pick. We can't go back and forth. And I was like, well, I've always wanted my kid to grow up in New York. Like I was only here because of work and I want them to have that experience. And so we moved back to the chagrin of everyone who represented me. And then you fall in love and you're like, okay, you know, you'd get work and be like, oh, shit, then I can't see my kid for, you know.
And our work is not like, oh, but you'll be home by bedtime.
Right.
You can do bath. It's like,
right. And it was sort of like, you're like, no, I really want to make I know this is good for my career, but my baby needs me.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with a Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Okay, so I marry this guy.
Right.
We have kids. It becomes...
Everything's great. You're in Dobbs Ferry, normal.
Everything's great-ish. You know, everything is great. I love my husband. I love my kids. I'm a little bit like the suburban housewife. I'm a little bit like, there are times I wish I was working more. There are times I wish I was working less.
Right.
You know, just like everybody else. My marriage is good, and it starts to get a little bit strained because, you know, we have 3 kids, and he's working a lot, and he starts to get progressively, later. You know, this was a long time. We were together 20 years. But he starts to, in the last couple years, get more irritable, more kind of raging once in a while, but not all the time, you know?
And the kids are how old at this time?
At the time where everything kind of exploded, my boys were 11 and my daughter was 16.
Right.
The exact same ages that my brother was and I was when my mom died.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. When you were the age that your mother was when she died, how old was she?
47. So it was all the same time.
So it was like the perfect storm. Like you were 47.
I was 46 when Jace got arrested. And then I turned 47 soon after that. Same timing,
But when Issa turned 16.
Yeah.
How could you not think of your mother the whole time?
I mean, I thought of my mother all the time.
Yeah, just that, oh my God, she's the age.
I think about it now. Yeah. I look at my boys who are now 15 and I go, oh, my mom never got to see Noah as a 15-year-old. I think about my mom all the time, but certainly during the really great times and during the really bad times.
So your husband was arrested.
Yeah.
For
child pornography.
While you were on your way to a job.
Yeah. Shooting a guest spot.
And you get this hysterical call from your daughter.
Yeah.
And this like massive, horrible, like the worst thing that could possibly happen.
The most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me, and I've had a very traumatic thing happen. Yeah. And to my family.
Right.
Partly because it also happened to my children.
To your kids. And you, I have to say, so strong. I mean, like, I don't know what, I mean, when I hear people saying, oh, I would have done that, oh, how can you, it's like, you don't know what the fuck you would have done. Shut the fuck up, you know? The judginess.
There's a lot of judgment.
Yeah. And it's like, this is yours. This is you. This is your story.
Well, just the other day, someone said to me, well, when did you decide to stay? I said, there wasn't like a big meeting. At the time, I just wanted to get, the expression I use in the show is put your oxygen mask on first. I had to get my kids to where they needed to be.
Right.
Our story was in the newspaper 24 hours after. I had to figure out myself what was going on. Was my husband sick? Was he actually a bad person?
Right.
Did he actually touch anyone? Which was one of the first things I had to establish. And the answer was no. And the answer is no. So this is a pornography addiction. What is that? Is that a thing? Okay.
Do you think if it was not child pornography and just regular pornography, that would have been a whole other?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's one point in the show where
actually in his, the story, the real story, which is, most people are not that interested in, and I don't really talk about it in the show, but when you're a pornography addict, I have learned it's a progressive addiction, just like anything else. Most people don't start out shooting heroin,
Right.
And that was not what my husband got arrested for. Was not mostly, I guess, he would say 99.9% of what that was. So I am not thrilled with any of it.
Right.
But certainly that is the thing that is the hardest to wrap not just my head around, but the whole judgment of the whole world, the legal ramifications. There's a lot.
It's just so much. I mean, you got to see the play because it and it's your story, which I love.
Yeah.
You don't say I'm telling my kid's story. You don't say I'm telling my husband's story. You say I'm telling you my story.
Yeah, that's all I can do. Really.
Right. And there was one point in the show where you talk about, seeing other people who are going through these addiction problems, and the ones who have the, good addictions,
oh, God,
like alcohol
only.
And,
cocaine would be a walk in the
great,
park.
right. And that it's just an extra scarlet letter, you know?
I said this the other day in a meeting. I get a lot of help, I go to a lot of therapy. I go to group, I go to 12-step. And I kind of use that because it's true, but it's also kind of become one of my lines, which is like, if only he were a heroin addict. Right. And, there's a woman whose son died. And so I don't wish addiction, really bad addiction, on anyone in any way. And it's, then there's dealing with the reality of what I know my husband did versus what the scarlet letter, like you talked about. If my husband, I believe, had beaten me up, he would be working again.
Right,
like,
of course.
There's not, but I wouldn't be with him.
Right.
So there's the, I mean, I really can say that, and people can say, no, you might, who knows? But there is the public shame that comes along with anything sexual, and certainly with this arrest.
Children. Any children involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, and a lot of judgment from a lot of people. Look, I know a lot about pornography now. I really didn't watch pornography. I still don't, but I've learned a lot. And I will never, ever defend what my husband did. But I also know that there's not as giant a line between what I thought and what is. What's on the internet right now, even legally, is pretty terrifying.
Right.
And
it's
great.
like, what about when I've been on the road for my whole adult life. You go to the hotel and it's like, you can buy an X-rated, which I never did because it was cheap. But I also I find it gross.
Right.
Like, to me, it's like, I don't want to watch another couple having, I don't.
No, that's not.
And plus the just knowing they're getting paid and their self-esteem, like I can't do
awful.
It. The one thing that you did The View, you did, and I just noticed, like, it's not everyone, like, ask the question, how could you stay with him?
Yeah.
And like that's what they're obsessed with it.
Yeah.
With, well, I wouldn't do it. Like someone on The View said that,
Yeah.
well, I would never. And it's like, who the fuck? Like, you don't, like, shut the fuck up.
Look, Brené Brown, who I adore, says,
Right.
until you're in the arena, don't tell me what you think.
Right.
And yet at the same time, Jude, I have compassion for people because I might have been one of those people saying, look, I don't think I'd be mean about it, but I might have said, oh, bless her. I mean, I could never.
Right.
And the truth is, my husband is a lot of things. And I know people who didn't stay with their husbands or partners who've had similar issues. And I also needed to see what my husband did with this situation.
Right.
He fell flat on his face. He had the worst thing that he's ever done published in the newspaper. Everyone knows. What do you do with that? Let me see who this person is. And he's the person that I thought he was. And,
Right.
He's making amends.
And has his personality changed now? No,
Yeah.
You said he was getting irritable and rage.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen him rage.
And do you,
I rage, but
oh yeah, of course. How are the kids?
it depends on the day. My kids are great. They're thriving. They're doing well.
Do any other kids go?
I mean, kids have been much better than adults. All my daughter's friends knew, and actually all of our people who know us have been amazing.
Right. Did any of the parents say, you're not going over to their house again? Did you have that?
I wish I could share that I did, because it would make for kind of a great story. I genuinely did not. The fact that these people that we know and who knew us were able to see
they
that
knew
someone can look at something and not actually want to do that thing
right.
is amazing to me. I actually really anticipated that we would lose a lot of friends, and that my daughter's friends would say, you can come to our house, but we're not going to come over.
Right.
That was not what happened.
You say in your show that, this is my story and it's not over yet.
No.
This is only the beginning of this story. I know you. I know you would do anything for your kids. And do you think, meeting other people who have been through this, do you think the fact that you are working this out together will be healthier for your kids in the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that if I hadn't at least given it a shot, that my kids would probably rightfully be pretty upset.
Right.
And would have every reason to.
And
look,
it teaches, it's sort of, everyone has their opinions and they're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
But it teaches this bond of family of, okay, this is an illness, this is a sickness, and you don't abandon people,
And no one in my family, certainly not my husband and certainly not me, no one has said, look, it's not that big a deal. We've all said it's a very big deal. It's very, everyone acknowledges there are victims besides us. You know, there are victims of child pornography. There are young women and girls that are exploited by this industry. That is a fact. And no one is shying away from that. That doesn't mean we throw people away. In my house, that is not what we do. We give people a chance. We do our homework. We look and see. And I had to I care, me a long time. I care desperately what other people think of me. It kills me that even people who don't know me at all think I'm a bad mom is devastating to me.
Them.
I know, but you've always been able to say that. And it keeps me up at night. But I needed to get quiet and go, first of all, I can't win. Whatever decision I make, people are going to judge. But I really...
Yeah, because if you said I'm leaving and then they said,
listen,
I saw your husband with the kids, you're letting him see. It's like whatever.
Going on The View would have been a lot easier if I said I wrote a book or a one-woman show about how I kicked the guy out, and now I'm living my best life, and I'm drinking
and
a
I
margarita.
found real happiness. Yeah.
I didn't need that guy, and but that's not my story.
But also, you get a lot of letters from people.
I get a lot of letters.
Do you find that there's a larger percentage that stayed or left?
Well, first of all, I get letters from all kinds of with all kinds of different stories.
Right.
It's not like every letter I get is from someone whose husband was arrested for child pornography. Now, I get a shocking number of those because, by the way, not to get all serious, but this is a real issue.
Right.
This is not going away.
Right.
We can't just go, okay, there's the bad guy. We got him.
Right.
It's done. Like, this is the internet and pornography addiction. And I'm not saying every pornography addict is looking at child pornography, but it's a real thing.
Right.
So that's one thing. So yes, I'm getting a lot of those letters. Some stay, some go. But I get more letters from people who I heard from a woman the other day whose husband died 12 years ago unexpectedly. She said, the feelings I had are just the same. I watched your show and I thought, I'm angry at my husband. He didn't even, he just died.
Right.
He didn't even kill himself. He died.
Right.
But I'm angry. I feel scared to go to the market. I don't like when people feel sorry for me. People don't think I can laugh, but I want to laugh. I'm laughing sometimes and then I'm crying.
Why are people, people are so obsessed with other people and how they, fucking take a look at yourself. You know what I mean?
That's what I've had to do. It's been so there's been a good thing for me in a way to go, well, let me just, and I've had, and look, I've had to have all the people online saying mean things about me, saying I'm a bad mom. Well, you know what? I've had to have the hardest conversations with my kids about. Right. What's being said online.
Why do you, but I get it for being a gay, and I'm like, okay, you talk to my kids and you tell me that they're missing something, that they don't have something, that they're unhappy, that they feel, slighted. Okay. What people make my kids are like, oh my God, they're so friendly. And oh my God, yeah. I know
that's like my kids. And, and then at the same time, if one of my kids is having a bad day or is pissed at me or, is having some kind of emotion, do I then go, oh my God, I wonder if it's because of the trauma?
Right.
Of course I do.
Right.
I'd be completely lying if I said, no, we're all great all the time. But you know what? My kids are funny and they're smart and they're all the things.
Do you feel guilty?
I feel guilty every minute, but I've always felt like that. Yes.
Yeah. Also,
I mean, you didn't even ask me what I feel guilty about. And the answer is just yes.
Right.
This week's episode of It's Judy Show with Judy Gold is sponsored by BetterHelp. And if you know me, which I think you do because you're listening to my podcast right now, you know that I am a big advocate for therapy. I think it benefits everyone. I think there's so many people who need it, who don't partake. It is so important for your emotional health and well-being. Therapy is fantastic. It is in every stretch of the imagination. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, please do it. But please give BetterHelp a try. It is entirely online. It's designed to be convenient. It's flexible. It suits your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. I have switched therapists in my life. I've had many, many therapists, and sometimes it's not a great fit for you, but don't give up. Therapy is beneficial. You can learn about yourself, you can process, and just be emotionally healthy. I'm telling you, do it. BetterHelp is great because, when I used to schlep to my therapist's office, it was so annoying. You have to do it, and you sit there and you wait, and then I'm telling you, doing it online is fantastic. And BetterHelp is amazing. I know a lot of people who've used it. So if you're thinking about therapy, go to BetterHelp.com. Let the gratitude flow. This is Gratitude Month, people. So you need to let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/JudyGold, JudyGold, today, and you will get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/JudyGold. You're welcome.
I went to opening and he wasn't there. And was that, and I thought that is because he is giving this to you.
That is absolutely correct, Jude. I invited him to opening and he said, I don't think I should come see the show. And I said at opening, he had already had seen it. He had snuck in and I said, well, do you want to just come to the party? And he said, look, if I come to the party, it'll become about me.
Right.
And this is your night. This is about you. And I don't want to do that. And I said, great. And you know what? It was a weird thing for me. And again, not to be all Sex in the City or whatever, but it was very empowering to have an opening night that was not about my husband or my children. My children weren't there either.
Yes.
And some people were like, oh, how do you feel? I was like, well, I mean, it's a tricky thing because I'm writing about my life, but I also had a great time. I was proud that I'm telling the story. I thought maybe I helped somebody.
Right.
My best girlfriends were there. You know, it was my dad was there. But also it's a quiet kind of pride and guilt and joy and sadness. It's not about, let me check in with my partner and see.
Right. And your writing is impeccable.
Thanks, Judith.
Maddie, when you went home after opening,
Yes.
and
I didn't. I had a sleepover with my girlfriend.
oh, that's right. Fuck.
But
I saw
but
that.
I went home the next day.
Right. And how did he react when he snuck in?
Well, I didn't know that, thank God.
Yeah.
We had an agreement. We said no secrets ever anymore. So he said, I'm going to tell you that I will see the play, but I'm not going to tell you when.
Right.
Because if I tell you when, you won't be able to do it.
Right.
And I said, that's correct. And I thought he would wait till after opening, but he didn't. So when he told me that he had seen it, I said, how are you? Because I was, you know, it's pretty brutal at times.
Right.
I mean, I don't,
Right.
I tell my story, and part of my story is I was, you know, that's the other thing. People are like, so you're just okay with it? It's like, no, I'm not just okay with it.
I say that 100 times in the play.
But people don't see the play and they don't really even read the article. They just say, he got arrested for that and you stayed. What's wrong with you?
Right.
So in the play, should you come see it, which I hope you do, all of your listeners, I go through a lot of emotions and a lot of them are not pretty, including calling him names and screaming and crying a lot. And he said, look, it was really hard. My husband is on probation. My husband lost every job and he has not worked in his chosen profession for years since this. So there's a reminder every single day of what he did. We're not in denial in my family. It wasn't like me doing this play was like, oh, right, we forgot.
Right.
But he said it was very hard to go back to that time.
Right, of course.
And be reminded of the real pain that I caused you and the kids. Not that I don't think about it, but it was really in my face and that was devastating. And he said, and then about maybe halfway, 3/4 through, I was able to separate. He had brought a friend, which I was glad. And he said, and I just said, wow, my wife created something beautiful out of the most painful time of her life. And I was able to be proud.
Right.
And then he said, and also I have a couple of notes.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And I said,
go fuck yourself.
Fuck you. I don't want your notes. And then in the middle of the night, I was like,
all right, what are your
notes?
the notes? This is such an actor question, but
what were the notes?
No, when you found out he had come, were you like, wait, what show was that?
Yes,
how was I?
yes,
How was the audience? Yeah.
Did you get that? It was funny. It's funny.
Right. Did you? Whoa,
Did you think that my impression? No, I did think that, and then I also thought, was I accurate about this? And you know, because he hadn't read it. He hadn't.
Right.
I let the kids read it.
Right.
He didn't want to read it. He wanted to see it.
Good for you. So the question I always say, are you on antidepressants?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been?
I have never been. I took a lot of Ativan right when
Love Ativan.
It was the greatest thing in the world. And because I was having panic attacks right after the arrest and I couldn't get through the night. I couldn't get through the day. I still have panic attacks. And I'm still up at night.
Right.
But nothing really works.
Right.
So, and also I'm lazy and I love my therapist who can't prescribe. So I think that I would try it, but I don't like going to doctors.
Right.
So.
Okay. So you do take care of your mental health. You go to therapy.
Oh, absolutely.
You have group.
Absolutely. I check in with people.
Right.
I have, and I talk about things probably, I wouldn't say to a fault, but I have a spiritual practice that got very, very much deepened when this happened because I simply could not process what was going on.
Right.
Even with the wonderful friends and family I have, and even with this angel who kind of took the form of a
You'll hear about
being,
the angel, yes.
I needed something bigger. So I did. I do have a spiritual practice as well.
Final question.
Yes.
And I have one other question. After this all happened to you, what do you think of the press?
Well, I read things very differently now. And I have compassion for people. Even this big story that happened recently, which everybody likes to talk about and judge and say, I wouldn't, any story that comes out where I find myself going, wow, I would never, ... I go, okay, check yourself. Because I know what was written about me was not all true. I mean, me being my family. And I know that there's a story behind the headline. When I read something now, I go, oh, I wonder how that family is doing.
Right.
And someone, the angel I talk about in the show, was able to read the New York Post, which just said this guy got arrested for this really horrible thing. And she was able to go, I wonder how that wife is.
Right.
I wonder how those kids are. I wonder how that guy is doing.
Right.
That must be really scary right now for them. And that must be really lonely, and let me reach out. So that's how I feel about the press. And I've had to be re-traumatized by the press recently.
Yeah, of course.
Who have actually, in some ways, put me on trial. And I didn't actually do anything.
Right.
Except give someone a chance.
Right.
But even his stuff, which I have to defend, I didn't actually do. So it's an interesting position, which, by the way, I put myself in by doing this play.
And, you're very aware of what's going on. All right, final question. The podcast is called Kill Me Now because, as you know, I say kill me now about 100 times a day because I fucking hate everything.
Yes.
What pisses you off more than anything makes you fucking crazy?
This is going to sound weird, but I make myself the most crazy.
Really?
When I do something that I know is going to cause me pain and I do it anyway. And I can't seem to not do that.
And you get angry about that.
I get angry at myself. And then usually when I get angry at myself, I take it out on my husband and sometimes my kids.
Wow, that's so unusual because when I'm angry, I know how to really deal with it,
Yeah. Someone said, how is that healthy anger? And I haven't quite figured that out.
There is I guess there is healthy anger and I get to do it on stage. But, I can't, and I fly all the time. And it's just like you see the worst in people.
Well, I think that's also what I've learned is anger and fear are really connected.
Right.
And when I'm scared.
And sadness. Yeah. Sadness is a lot of anger.
I'm very in touch with my sadness. I'm not always in touch with my anger.
Right.
And when my anger comes, I don't want to be told you're just afraid. But when I calm down, I can go, it happened the other night. I got really mad at my husband because I was like, I can't believe sometimes that we're even still dealing with this. And it's just my fear. It's fear of what other people think. It's fear that something will happen. It's fear that I will be, I got sideswiped. It's fear that will happen again.
Right.
And it's not real.
Right.
But I had a lot of trauma.
All right. Well, I love ending on the trauma joke. Trauma.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
So Maddie, where can people find you on social?
Well, first of all, if you want to see the show, it's accidentallybrave.com.
Okay, I was going to fucking get to that. All right, go ahead.
Oh gosh. I'm on at Ms. Maddie Corman on Instagram.
Corman.
And Twitter. I'm scared to tell people to go on Twitter, but I think I'm at Maddie Corman.
Maddie
Corman.
All right. Well,
I love you.
I love you so much, and this was so fucking great. It was so great.
It was fun. I could talk another 2 hours.
I know, me too. I'll be at Zanies May 15th.
Me too. I'm just kidding.
Shut up. May in Chicago proper, May 15th through the 18th. Get your fucking asses there.
Yes. She really is the best. I was just talking to my daughter about you today, and I said, you got to go see Judith this summer. Are you going to be here this summer too?
Yeah, I'm going to be going back and forth to Provincetown because I'm gay. But yeah. I am the funniest, but I'm too old to get a special.
But you're not too old to write a book.
That's right. Oh God, Miss Positive. Thank Maddie. I can't thank you enough. I love you.
I love you too.
I love you. Thanks, Laura.
Love you.
And as we always say, so long.
So long.
And everything was wonderful. I'll see you soon. Thank you for the visit. So long.
Dear fancy gift wrappers, you continue to amaze us. This holiday season, you'll have your gift wrapping work cut out for you. But you can leave the big red bows to us. Get offers on select vehicles at the Lexus December to Remember sales event.
Lease the 2025 ES350 for $469 a month for 36 months with $39.99 to its signing.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Call 1-800-USA-LEXUS for important lease offer and pricing details. Not all customers will qualify. Offer available in Southern area only ends December 2nd, 2024.